I can't stop picturing it in my head those first 6 weeks, like what that room looked like. But like unswaddle, quickly change his diaper, and then go feed him to sleep.
Welcome to Mom Meets World, a podcast talking all things motherhood, friendships, and life. We're your hosts, Alaina Brookmeyer
and Peyton Saraiva. We have a lot of ground to cover, so let's dive right in.
Hey, y'all.
Hey, guys.
What's up? Welcome back to Mom Meets World. So in this episode, we get very honest about toddler bedtime battles, mom sleep insomnia, and all of what goes into good sleep hygiene for the whole family. Because let's be real, everyone in this house is just trying to make it to bed without a breakdown. And we just want to wake up feeling refreshed, you know? What'd you think of it?
I thought it was great. I'm super excited to jump into the episode with you and kind of take us back to the newborn stages all the way up till now.
Alrighty, then let's go ahead and dive in.
All right, my friends, how is your week? What's been happening in the life of the Brookmeyers?
Yeah, so my dad actually is in town this weekend for the long weekend of Memorial Day. So speaking of Memorial Day, by the time this airs, it'll be past Memorial Day. So just wanted to take a little side note before we jump into the weekly catch up that we have announced our winner for the giveaway that we had been like amping up. So just putting that out there. The giveaway is close, but we are so beyond thrilled and grateful for all of the support that came through and just like, oh my gosh, fills our cup. So that was pretty fun for us to put on. So we will definitely be putting on more down the road, but we're definitely looking for more support. So don't hesitate to still reach out to us on Instagram and find us and follow us and all that good stuff. So we love you guys. But yeah, so my dad's been in town and that's been really fun because he is here with me and Chloe. And then Ben, my husband, is actually out of town with his parents for a wedding, for his cousin's wedding. And I can't remember if I mentioned this on the last episode, but I was just like, it's a wedding for his cousin that I've never met and don't know a lot about. Not that I don't support the family and the wedding and all that, but I'm like, to fly out there with Chloe or maybe leave her behind and have my dad fly out. That's just a lot of logistics that doesn't really add up. So it was really sweet for my dad to come out here and have a little extra time with us. So that's been good. And wanted to put a little update for Chloe's therapy / potty training, because I don't know if I filled you in on her potty training. Have I?
Not lately. The last time you told me you're like doing a little bit more naked time.
Yes. Okay. So it's been only, probably less than a week at this point. Because let's see, we had our last therapy appointment last Wednesday. Today's Monday. So yeah, essentially I had my therapy appointment last week. And then I think the next day was Chloe's. And so kind of like without even realizing it, it's almost like the therapists were talking to each other, like, all right, let's tag team this situation. So I got a little push from my therapist and then with Chloe's therapist of like, okay, why don't you guys just like really start from the basics, like hit the rewind button, pretend like she's starting fresh, which she practically is. Because in my head, I kept being like, she's done this before, like she knows what to do, like why isn't she doing it? So we've been doing a little naked boot camp around the house. We haven't just been like staying home for those 3 days, but like each time we have those periods at home, we'll just have our little naked booty and then no pull-ups except for nap time and sleep time, of course. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, she's just been wearing undies, like the really thin ones. I try not to put on the training ones that are thicker, just cause, and you know what? She's been doing great. And I'm like, this is not real life. Like, I want to knock on wood right now. But so anyways, like I said, it's only been like maybe 5 days, but I'm just on cloud 9. But my OCD is still definitely kicking in a little bit of being like, Chloe, do you want to take a potty turn? Do you need to listen to your body right now? But she's been doing pretty good, like maybe one little accident each day. I will take that, honestly, because from where we were before, I think like she was just so dependent on the pull-ups for so long because we had her in them all day, every day, because that was our crutch too. I'm like, I'm not going to keep freaking cleaning and throwing away all of your undies. So here we are. That's a big update for us on that end. And
congrats.
Has Coop's been doing really good still?
Yeah, I don't want to
okay, good.
Yeah, it's been really good. He's just a little, I don't know. I think he was ready and he just took to it. And look, I don't want to we have a big hurdle coming up. We're going to America here in in this time it'll be like 3 weeks away. We're going to head to the States. And so look, I think we'll do pull up on the big plane rides or just kind of read his body. And the reason I say on the plane is not actually the getting up process. It's because the way it works on huge flights, like the 16-hour flights, you get on the plane, you sit down, they serve you a dinner service, and then they do lights out on the plane. So they're trying to get you on the time frame of the city you're going to. And so, like, I'm going to try to stick with kind of following the body clock that we're doing now. But in the same note, if you want to pull up the whole plane ride, great, because airplane toilets are a bit scary. And I reckon, going into the bathroom on the airplane, that could be a scary journey. But who knows how it'll go at Gigi and Papa's house. I have asked my mom to buy the same little like step up seat from Target that we have. We linked it in our show notes from our episode about potty training, maybe about a month ago now. And so hopefully that'll happen. But in life, he's actually quite good at anyone like the houses we go to or public toilets. He doesn't get super scared, but we all know how those airplane toilets sound and it's a bit crazy.
They scare me.
Yeah. So I just want to like be aware and leave space for him to have, the comfort of just feeling a little bit more safe in the pull up on the plane if he wants it. But yeah, we have a lot of big travel coming up. So we can touch base after the trip, as always, about how a month of foreign toilets and traveling and different time frames go. But he's really good at just holding his like potty break. We took some big long road trips, and then the second we get there, he'll go, okay, now I need to do a wee, as opposed to in the middle of the car telling me. And we've never had an accident in the car, which has been really nice. We're going to do a little road trip to our friend's house who's about 6 hours from where we live here. We're going to go on like the June long weekend. So who knows? We'll keep you in the loop on that one. But it's been going pretty good.
Yay. Oh, that makes me so happy. And I feel like they're also at the age being just over 3 years old. You can honestly even ask them, right? Like as you guys approach the plane situation, being like, all right, Coops, do you want to put on a pull up or would you prefer to stay in your undies right now? And then, because then it's still like those little things really give them control, which I'm realizing. So
yeah.
That's a huge win for us. And then speaking of summer around the corner, I have been, I don't know, just like almost like on a binge of wanting little enhancements to be like, I don't know, not even summer ready, because it's not even having to do with like, oh, wearing a bikini, but a little bit, but just like, I don't know, I just want to feel nice and like reset for summer. So recently I did my first peel. Have you ever done a facial peel? So that was fine. I'm still a little flaky. So thank goodness this isn't zoomed in
high definition.
Oh my God. I'm like, get out of here.
That's technically a good thing though.
Okay, good. And it's not even like all over my face, thank goodness. But yeah, so I'm very happy with it. And it's like quote unquote summer safe. So that's been a cool experience and I might be hooked. We'll see. And then I'm going to get a little revamp of my lips because back in the day, back in September of last year, and we did a little episode about mommy enhancements. So if you guys do have an interest, and we can always like do a new episode about it too, a little updated one. But we put that out there in the universe a ways back. But yeah, I did my lips back in the day. That was my first time. So I'm going to just get a little touch up and go to a different place, see how that looks. And then, because my lips always feel, I don't know if you have the same experience, but like they just feel shriveled up sometimes. And I'm just not about it.
Yeah, I feel like when I smile, my top lip disappears.
Oh my gosh.
I feel yeah, I definitely feel that way. But I think for me, what I would do is a lip flip as opposed to lip filler. I think my bottom is pretty fine, but I would do like the lip flip, which would just give me more surface area on the top. But yeah, that's just something I thought of.
I know people who have done that. Yeah. And they like it. What else am I doing? Oh, and then in 2 days, which is kind of a spontaneous thing for me. I literally just came across the idea and it got in my head of doing laser hair removal.
Absolutely. 10 out of 10. 10
have
out
you
of
ever
10.
done it?
Yeah, I have.
You have? How did I not know this? Where?
If you don't mind me my bikini area.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you did the full process?
Yeah, it was 8. I did 8 sessions. And so this was back, I think, when laser hair removal was relatively new. I was in college at the time. And it was something where you had to do it in the winter because you had to let it kind of grow out in between sessions, which nowadays they're not like that. I think you can go in shaved or unshaved, waxed or unwaxed. It's a lot more progressive. It was super painful at the time. And now I've heard they're much better. Again, this was 8 to 10 years ago I think now 10 years ago that I did it. But I
That's
have
wild.
found, yeah. So I know that when we get to the next stage of life, when I've got a lot more income coming, I'm going to do the back of my legs. So, like the back of my thighs, I get a lot of hair
Hmm.
there. And I'm going to retouch up that bikini slash Brazilian area just for personal reasons. I hate shaving, I get ingrown hairs, and 10 out of
Same.
10 recommends just that process. And I know now it's a lot more safe. I know now it's not as painful, and the results happen a lot quicker.
Yes, yes. So have you not done any touch-up like
No.
appointments since then?
Mm-mm.
Really? And it's been pretty decent holding up.
I would say that the thickness level is completely reduced. I would say
Okay.
that it's not the ideal that I would like. Let's just say that
Got
without
it.
getting
Got it.
into details. I would like it to look away, and it's not that way. So I'm hoping once we hit that top, like the back of my legs, I want zero hair, and the other
Hmm.
areas I would like the same. But I think that will be in the future. So what are you going to
Yeah,
get done?
yeah.
What are your goals?
I'm gonna do like from knees down for my legs, and then bikini. But
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
like you're saying, I don't think it's supposed to hurt as much as it used to, like back in the day. And then yeah, I'm supposed to shave like literally 24 hours beforehand.
Yeah.
So yeah, this will be interesting. I'll keep you in the loop. And yeah, I'm gonna check out a place that's local. So if I end up liking it, I'll give them a shout out.
Yeah, cool. Cool, cool,
So
cool.
yeah, that's the latest with me. I'll keep you guys posted on my little enhancements, getting freshened up. Anything new in your world this past week?
Yes, so a few things. One, we just had a really good weekend. We had some friends come into town spontaneously on Friday, so that was great having them for dinner. Then went to a new friend's house, and I know we had an episode about kind of like friend dating and friend like meeting new friends, and I did want to share like a little story about how we became friends with these people. And it kind of just started. We were at the local skate park, and there was another little boy, a little older than Cooper, probably a year and a half or 2 years older than Coops, just playing on his skateboard, and Cooper was on his scooter. And I saw the mom sitting on the other side, just on the bench, and the kids were kind of playing. And I kept kind of waving to the mom, and I ended up going, "Hey, how are you?" And she said hello back, and we ended up having a chat. And we ended up just striking up a friendship right then and there. And we've hung out a few times, but like Chase and her husband Cohen just like got on like that, like immediately got
Yay.
on really well. And then they just had us over for dinner the other night, and we were there from 4 o'clock, and I think it ended up being like 8:30. And I was like, "Oh my god, we need to leave." And I wanted to like take a deep breath and like put my hands in the air at the stage of life that we're in with kids, where Cooper and Van were. So Van's a little bit older, but I didn't see Cooper for like 2 hours. It was
Wow.
amazing. They were upstairs, they were down, they were playing monster trucks, they were out in the backyard on their bikes. And so I physically could see him, or I could hear what he was doing. But right now we're at the phase, because we're only child, he's an only child still, of like, "Mommy, watch, mommy, this, mommy, that. Let's go outside. Daddy, look
Hmm.
at this." And it's like so much fun, but having that adult conversation where I can look Rachel in the eye and have a chat from start to finish is very few and far between. It's normally like, "Hey, 5 seconds of story. Hold on 1 second. Yes, Coops." And we are working on something where Cooper comes and grabs my leg. And then I go, "Oh, hold on 1 second, Rachel. Cooper needs me." And so him putting his hand on my leg makes me know like he wants my attention, or "Excuse me, mommy." And he's doing really, really
Hmm.
well of the "excuse me, mommy," but he doesn't realize, even if you say "excuse me, mommy," I'm still going to be like, "Okay, hold on 1 second, Rachel. Yes, Cooper." He thinks I'm going to drop everything what I'm doing, but we're getting
Hmm.
there. But it was so nice because like I was able to have chats with the friends. I knew he was safe with Van running around the house. They kept checking in like we do, like every 15 minutes, just come make eye contact with me. And so that was so much fun. We had a great night. We played games with the kids, and it ended up being just like such a nice evening. And I was really happy that like we followed through on the plans. They did come to Cooper's birthday party last weekend, and they were the last ones there, and we ended up chatting so late. So like this
Oh,
friendship is new, but it's so awesome, and I'm really thankful to know them. So it's been pretty cool.
a quick, strong connection. I feel like that's really resonating for like how we hit it off. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I think those are so special and like, can be a little bit more rare. So you really want to hang on to them. I love that. And especially when the guys, the partners get to hit it off too. That's
I and
not always
it's
the case.
exactly, and it's so cool because Chase has this beer brand called Laura, which is our own beer project that we started in Sydney. And Cohen is like an artistic designer and graphic designer. And ironically, Cohen followed Chase's Laura account on Instagram without us even knowing it. And so,
Ah,
like, when we started chatting about our history and career and blah, 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 and Chase and Cohen just talked about life, all of a sudden, Cohen's like, dude, I follow Laura on Instagram. How crazy is that? And like, we found out that we have so many things in common outside of just being boy moms and dads, and because they have 2 kids, Heidi and Van. But it was so fun to like have another connection, and like they cared about a lot of things, and their friendship was very much like ping ponging, like asking about your life and my life. And I love to see that. Sometimes guys just sit around and talk about one thing or whatever, and not putting them in a hole, but it seems to be the thing sometimes. So that was great.
Yay. I'm so glad you guys got that time together. That's super important. And when the kids hit it off too. It's nice to be like, okay, peace. Especially when the kids are slightly older, they can kind of take control, have a little bit more responsibility, and know when to check in. So that's awesome.
And Heidi's like 7 or 8. No, Heidi's probably like 8 or 9, which is their daughter. And so she was very much like mother hen, following them around too to make sure everything was safe. So I was like, oh my God, this is so great. So anyways, that was good.
That's awesome. Yay. Love it. Love it. Good stuff. And then so for this week's moment, do you have any products you might want to give a shout out for? Maybe something related to this episode?
Yeah. So today we are going to be talking all about sleep, and sleep hygiene, sleep patterns, and all things related to kind of like the first 3 years of sleep patterns in our households. So I think I've got a couple of little recommendations. Initially, I thought of our little magic Merlin sleep sack, which it was so cute because I put that in our show note. I put that in our episode, like our outline, and Alaina was like, oh my God, I had that for Chloe too. So we had to laugh because it must have been something, I don't know if it was like an ad on Instagram that all moms in 2021, 2022 saw, but it's like this little like compression sleep sack that kind of makes them look like a little starfish, depending on the one you had. Ours was like a little starfish. It was yellow, and it was yellow or blue. Yes. I can't remember which color he had first. I think maybe, anyways, but they were so cute.
We called Chloe a little marshmallow when she was in it because it's so poofy, and that's the whole idea. They can't roll over because it's so poofy and cushiony.
It's so cute. So I loved that. I think that we were big sleep sack fans all the way up until we moved here. So about 18 to 20 months. When he was 20 months, obviously he had like, it was just really, really big on him. But it was just more to kind of keep him, but it was also that mental trigger because we were pretty routine oriented with sleep, which we'll get into in a little while. So that was a huge one. And then the other one is we are still using the Hatch sleep. It's like a sound machine. We use different color lights, but we just do white noise and it's on pretty much all the time. And it's not necessarily a thing for like, you can share your experience with the Hatch because we don't use it as, as detailed as you do, but ours is just on like the white noise, and it does come with us depending on the room, but right now he's loving just like having the different lights at nighttime, which whatever color he likes.
Yeah. I love the Hatch. I don't think we'll ever get rid of it, to be honest. I'm obsessed. And I'll dive more into like how we use it effectively, like when we jump a little bit more into this episode and toddler routines. But yeah, I want to give a shout out to like, so almost similar pattern. So for sleep sack, like after we transitioned away from the Merlin, Chloe and I like both, like it was just, we loved it so much. The Kite, I think it was Kite Baby brand, and it was the bamboo sleep sack. And they are pricey, I will kind of say that, but it's so worth it. Like you could get 1 or 2 and just kind of rotate through them. When one's in the wash, you're putting on the other one. And like, I feel like maybe when we snagged one from the kids store, right? Kid to kid. So like you can even get some second hand. So anyways, huge shout out for that because it's super soft and comfy and like, obviously breathable. It's bamboo. Yeah. Not as cute and fluffy as the Merlin, but so sweet. And then for a little light situation in the room, keeping it nice and chill because that's key. And we'll get into that too in a little bit. But we have a salt lamp in Chloe's room. And I think that would be like ideal in every room essentially. Like I wish we should just get one for our bedroom, but we probably wouldn't need it as much. But I love having the salt lamp on in Chloe's room as we're doing her nighttime routine, getting her ready, have it be nice and chill, not the overhead lights and all that good stuff. And it's very like, even the tone of it, like the warm light is really cool.
So important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey mamas, let's be real. Between the kids, carpool, and never-ending laundry pile, who has time to deep clean their house? That's where Clean Lemon comes in. They're a Phoenix-based, non-toxic cleaning service that'll make your home sparkle without you lifting a finger. And just for our Mom Meets World listeners, Clean Lemon is offering $50 off of your first deep clean with the code MomMeetsWorld50. Fresh lemony vibes, no stress. Find more info at cleanlemonllc.com. Link is in our show notes. And use code MomMeetsWorld50 when you're booking.
Hi mamas, let's talk prenatals. As a mom, there's nothing more important than giving our little ones the healthiest start. And that starts before they're even born. I've been using NaturVest, and it's truly a game changer. Created by a naturopath, backed by science, these supplements are designed specifically for preconception, pregnancy, and postpartum. Whether you're planning, pregnant, or navigating the postpartum recovery, NaturalBest supports your body and your baby the entire way. Because mamas, you deserve the best too. Check them out at naturalbest.com and use the link in our show notes to receive 10% off your first purchase. Well, that kind of leads us into kind of the topic of the day. And, you know, I think something that I really appreciate about the way we run this show is like we're pretty thought intensive about what we're going to chat about in the episodes and, you know, where's the hole in what we've talked about in the past or what things are pretty important to us. And so over time, we'll definitely double up on things just because it's a never evolving or never changing, you know, part of it all. But I think something that is so important is sleep, not just for kids, but for parents as well. And I'm really excited to talk about how did you guys start navigating the first, you know, little bit of sleep? How did you go with the first 6 weeks? And like, how has that changed until, you know, we're sitting here now at 3 years old? Like, what does that look like for you guys?
Oh my gosh. Wow. I mean, so much changes as their sleep schedule changes, and then we kind of have to adapt to that. And obviously, things get better down the road. Don't worry if you're in the thick of that newborn phase, it's not for forever. And everyone always says that, but you're like, but when does it end? Like, tell me when. Is it tomorrow? Is it next week? And even like throwing it back all the way to pregnancy, too, right? Because like, your hormones might be keeping you up, and like, oh gosh, I'm not supposed to lay on my back. So pregnancy pillow definitely saved me in those days. So that was key to have. I don't even remember the type of pregnancy pillow, but if I think of it or I'm able to look it up later, we can link it in the show notes. But yeah, newborn phase was really hard to like, even just like learn what the heck we're supposed to routine. There is no routine with them when they're newborns because it's just like they sleep all the time and like on you, right? And then you're stuck. And then it's just like, nap when the baby or sleep when the baby sleeps is not always the case. Actually, in fact, it's rarely the case. And so we've all heard that one before. And yeah, like kind of moving forward is just like, okay, once you're able to get a consistent sleep schedule, especially with naps, and then maybe their nighttime sleep is better and they just developmentally are there as well. I know you got really lucky with Cooper. He started to sleep through the night like fairly early on, but it took Chloe, I will say 9 months. She was 9 months old when she started to consistently sleep through the night. So that definitely helped me. So that was kind of like our timeline of when I was able to, and Ben, of course, finally able to sleep through the night. But I don't know if you're the same way. Even though she's been sleeping through the night for so long, I still feel like I don't even know if I want to call it insomnia, but we just have these sensors, these like radars that are just like always on. And I'm always like kind of listening for Chloe. If she just like does a little, I don't even want to call it a scream, but like a moan, or like she just makes some kind of like loudish noise that lasts for maybe a couple of seconds, I will wake up to it, immediately turn to my nightstand, turn on the monitor and see what the heck she's doing. She just needs to put the blanket back on her. Like that literally happened 2 nights ago. She just made a noise and she's probably like 90% still asleep. But I'm like, oh gosh, do I need to go in her room and do this? Like, what is she doing? Did she fall out? So I don't know if that like resonates with you, but yeah, go ahead and dive into your experience and I'm sure we'll like get into the nitty gritty.
Yeah, so I think you and I maybe had like a different experience because we did put Cooper on a routine the first 6 weeks. And I wanted to share a little bit about how our experience worked. We were gifted this book called Cherishing the First 6 Weeks. And I can link the book in the show notes. A friend of ours gave it to us and said, she was a mom and she has 6 kids. And we were at this big outdoor cricket match. And she was saying, look, I'm going to mail you something, use it or don't. Let me just, you know, take it for what it is. And she actually followed through, mailed us this book. And essentially it's a guide. So the first like 3 chapters are like leading up to hospital, what to expect, how to create, even how to like set up the nursery in order to kind of like utilize the door, the windows, which for someone like Chase and I, who are kind of routine oriented, Chase is super scheduled, but he's not around kids ever, like before Cooper. And so for him, it was like his Bible. And then essentially what it did was we started putting the Cooper on a time schedule. So we kind of knew what to do. So at like 7 o'clock in the morning, that's when our day started. So we woke Cooper up, you change him, you play with him. And then his next sleep time is 9:30. So essentially the way the book works is it's broken up chapter 1. So week 1, week 2, week 3. And so like even we're going back through the notes because I took them. So 7 o'clock is unswaddle the baby. change diaper, feed to 20 minutes on each side, burp well, and play. 9:30 feed, 12 o'clock feed, 2:30 feed. And essentially it kind of just tells you how to start to guide your child on that eating. So you're still getting in those nutrients they need. You're still feeding them that every time. But then when it gets to the nighttime, it kind of walks you through like, okay, so, 10 p.m., 1, 4, and 7. So like in the beginning, you are up those times, but at least your body starts to get on what to expect. You set an alarm, you kind of wake your baby up. And then the goal is by 6 weeks, having them go to sleep at 11 p.m. and wake up by 5 a.m. So that's at least a 6-hour stretch. As adults who like we need to function on sleep, you can function off of 4 to 6 hours to actually be a little bit more like brain, like I guess cognizant. And so for us, by week 7, Cooper would be asleep by 11 p.m. and then he would be awake about 5:30, ready for another feed. And he was gaining weight on schedule and time. And so for us, that really helped. So we knew what to expect. The book was amazing because it gave us logs on how much he was actually drinking and eating and how much he was pooping, so we could keep track as partners. Like Chase got up in the middle of the night and did one of the feeds because I would pump in advance and all these things. It just really, really, really helped us. And it helped our family who was ever over to kind of know what time to come around to see Cooper if we wanted him awake or asleep or a cuddle. And so that changed our relationship with that first 6, 8, 12 weeks because we kind of knew what to expect, and it kind of put us on a mental time frame to know, oh, it's about 9:30, Pate's giving Cooper a feed. That's a time for Chase to start laundry, or that's time for him to go make noises in the other room because I was feeding Cooper so he would know what to be awake. So that really is something that we're going to take with us into the next, the next child. I think that it's going to be a little less reliable because we'll have Cooper around. And so like if the new child, goes and takes a sleep and Cooper wants to go somewhere, or we're out and about, the next kid's going to have to be a little bit more codependent. But some of the main things also the book is try not to have your child fall asleep on you as much as possible. Like we definitely took advantage, and I loved those newborn sleeps. And if they fell asleep on me, it was the best. But it also kind of helped us, work through how to get Cooper a little bit more independent and fall asleep on his own. And I find like taking that up even till now, Cooper does not like to fall asleep with us. He doesn't like, he's like, you're moving too much. Stay away from me. I think he actually really likes that independence. And so I don't know, he's 3 years old now. So I don't know if like he still remembers any of that. But that was like, for 2 adults who didn't know how to take the first 6 weeks, that actually helped us tremendously on kind of that process, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. I mean, obviously it kickstarted you into like, because when did he fully start falling or like sleeping through the night, would you say?
8 weeks.
Okay, 8 weeks. So like, yeah, obviously that set you guys up for success, which is like freaking amazing because it's unheard of. And also like, each kid's different. So maybe also Cooper's just like a very good sleeper in general. I think we lucked out in that sense. Like, those first 9 months were rough. They weren't the worst ever. And I'm saying this now as we're on the other side, but
yeah,
you know how it goes. So then, but like now she's a great sleeper. And I owe that to like routine too, because we didn't do that book, but I know you've mentioned it several times, so you'll definitely have to link it because I'm sure everyone's like, oh my God, that sounds like magic. Like, please. We did Taking Care of Babies, and we didn't do it like to the T, but we definitely, that helped set us up. And gosh, I don't know when we fully started that. It might have been a couple months in, even just to get some kind of structure. And then, she has different programs or guides for different age groups and stuff. So it's all different, appropriate, like developmentally appropriate stages. So just keep that in mind for anyone who's listening. Like you're not necessarily behind, right? Like each kid's doing their own thing. Unfortunately, sometimes it's very stressful. But yeah, that's something that I always keep in the back of my mind of how well Chloe generally sleeps. Like, because I'll hear other parents like they got the bags under the eyes and being like, oh my God, my toddler transitioning to the toddler bed is just like getting out of the bed several times out of the night. And like, I can't do this anymore. So honestly, I think we really lucked out in that sense. Potty training sucks, but this has been great. So we'll definitely get into tips and like what's been working and maybe what hasn't worked in the past for us. But like, I think the biggest thing for us, like as far as toddler kind of sleep training goes, and like we'll get into our own mom stuff too, because our health hygiene is just as important, if not more, because we also need to take care of them each morning. So like Chloe definitely has a very strict like cues almost, right? Like, cause that helps prep you for your hygiene and sleep hygiene. So that's been amazing. So we just kind of like do her milk and reading. She still has her bottle of milk actually all day, every day. And we'll read a book together. She'll make sure she chooses the perfect book. She has to go through this whole process. And then, good old teeth brushing and flossing, and then have a little potty time, and then have the salt lamp on waiting for her in her room, get her in her jammies. And then we call them her nighttime pull-ups, even though they're still technically diapers because they're more absorbent. And and then she's ready to rock and roll. And I'll tell her a little story off the top of my head when she's in bed, turn off the salt lamp, and we're good to go. But I think that and then of course the hatch. That's a given. That's just in the back. So what set us up for success is always being consistent from like transitioning from crib to toddler bed is like pretty much nothing changed except for no sleep sack. Now she has a blankie. And so when she was in the crib, if anyone didn't listen to this before, because I think I've mentioned it on our podcast before, the biggest tip that has worked for Chloe, at least, is for the hatch sound machine, you can have colors on there. So we kind of like trained her. We always have the sound of rain on as the hatch sound machine. And then in the mornings, it still has the same sound, maybe just slightly lower volume. But I turn it from my phone, from the app, turn it to green. So like when she was in the crib, I would turn it to green from my phone, maybe 30 seconds, a minute later, whatever, like shortly after, I would walk in the room and come get her and say, okay, yeah, it's wake up time. So she always had that cue that like if the light is off and her room is dark, it is time to be sleeping or resting and just stay in your bed. And so now that she's in the toddler bed, the light turns green. She opens her door, comes racing down the hallway, comes and finds me. But if that light is not green, she stays in her bed. She doesn't even get out and play with her toys or anything in the morning. She just stays in her bed, and I'll hear her kind of like talking to herself or singing. So that has been like phenomenal for us, and that has really worked. But I think leading up to it, like the prep work and like those little cues and getting ready for bed, like I think for me especially, quiet house. So kind of like I'm noise sensitive when I'm trying to sleep or calm down, and then definitely dim lights. Like I think that's a huge factor for me, and that's really worked out for Chloe too. So it's been great.
I like that. I think that you just gave so much information, so I'm trying to remember and how to like piggyback off that because I was, So I think so for us, I think we've always had the hatch on. I don't think that the lighter sound really made a big difference. I think the white noise for us, especially when he was little, was really helpful in order to kind of, create the environment where we can exist in our world out here, but that his room is, soundproof. But as far as currently and like the past, I would say year or so, our routine does look like I would say we're routine oriented, but we always give ourselves about an hour window for things to fluctuate. So if we do a 7:30 bedtime, if we start that routine at 8 o'clock because we had a big night, we're not going to, panic and throw all things out the window because kids, again, don't really understand the concept of time. But for us, in order to have our alone time, in order for us as adults to have our kind of wind down time, I think it is important to kind of stay consistent in that process. We normally do bath, we do books, and then we do we go outside and we look at the lights, and then we come in, brush teeth, and go to bed. And it's cute because Cooper will go bath, brush teeth, lights, bedtime. And I'll be like, okay, Cooper. And so he kind of knows this routine. There's definitely some, debating, if I would say, because it's like we'll start with 2 books, then he'll go, no, 3 more books. And so it's kind of that negotiation phase. And we're getting to a phase now where he's kind of dragging his feet a little bit, like goodnight food. Let's go say goodnight to the food. And you can tell that he's kind of stalling a little bit, but I think it is just time where he wants to be around us, but I'm very lucky that he does. Even if there's people in the house or there's distractions, he's pretty good about going in his room, getting into bed, and staying cozy. I think a big mom loss at the moment is he is going back and forth between falling asleep in mommy and daddy's bed or Cooper's bed. I just rearranged his whole room just in different orientation, and he's really liking that more. And so I think kind of switching that up. So I used to have the bed in one part of the room and kind of designed it differently. I've completely just flipped how it's designed. Nothing as far as furniture goes, just like reorganizing it and vacuuming it. And he's loving the way his new room is. He's got control now of where the light switch is, so he can stand on his bed and turn on the light switch. And so with that being getting said, at nighttime I go, all right, Cooper, turn off your light. So he has he gets to choose to go over, turn the light off, and then crawl into his covers. So it's giving him more of that control, and he really likes doing that as opposed to like mommy doing it. And then in the morning time, he like will just wake up and come and get in mommy and daddy's bed. And so like we don't have the light on or light off like you do. I think that's so powerful that you were able to create that. But Cooper doesn't really get up super early. So it's about 6:30, and then he just comes and crawls in bed with Chase and I. He has no
that.
It's my favorite. He'll just come snuggle right in the middle, and then he'll just snuggle mommy, snuggle daddy, and it was so cute. I've got some funny pictures on my phone. Coops grabbed my phone the other day and took pictures of Chase and I cuddling in bed, and we're both just like, Cooper, it's too early, but I'm like laying on Chase's chest, and Cooper's like snapping pictures, which is kind of funny. But yeah, I think it's so important to like recognize what works for your kid and what doesn't work. There has been so many seasons of this process of toddler sleep, so I wish we would have talked about it as as we go, because thinking back until he was little, I used to nurse him to sleep, and then after I would finish nursing him, I remember just laying him down and then either trying to sneak out or trying to like not budge too much, and he'd always say, mommy, stay, or whatever. So like every season of this process of sleep is so different, and this is the one thing I think in parenthood that the kids rely so much on that dominant parent. So whether that's mommy or that's the primary parent, that's daddy, because mommy works all the time. It's very much weighted on one parent, I find. Yes. And I know that that's the one thing throughout this whole process of being a mom has solely been on me. And not that Chase doesn't try. Lord help him. He tries every single night. He does.
We're in the same boat.
He offers, he comes in, like Cooper will come out and be like, mommy, food. And I'll be like, daddy's going to come in, not as a threat, but just like daddy's going to take turns. And then it doesn't work. I'm that backup last straw parent. And I don't think it's anything to do with Chase. I just think I'm the comfort, and I'm that person for Cooper. And that makes it a lot of weight. That emotional toll is heavy on us. And so the unwind time for you and I or other parents is definitely different if you're that last resort parent. You finally get them to bed, you sit on the couch, you go to make a cup of tea, and you're going and waiting. Oh my God, has he come out yet? Or is he, and you don't have that problem because she won't leave her bed, which Cooper does do that. Once in a while, or like once a week or so, he'll like kind of sneak out and sit in the hallway, and all of a sudden I'll hear a little pitter patter.
Oh my
or
goodness.
I'll like turn over and I'll be like, what are you doing laying in the hallway and listening to mommy and daddy talking, dude? Like, go back to bed. And he's like, you guys are funny. Or I'll hear him giggle at Chase and I talking, and I'll be like, Cooper, get back in bed, dude. What are you doing? So I definitely am not the expert on how this whole thing works now, but yeah, I did want to like jump back a little bit. We kind of skipped ahead. Walk me through what your thoughts were in the middle of the night during those feeds. And like, if we've got moms listening who were in that newborn phase and it's 3 a.m, were you someone who would sit on your phone to not feel alone? Did you put music on in headphones? Because I do know parents used to put headphones on and listen to a podcast while they were nursing. Do you have any tips on what moms can do if they're in that newborn stage or that first 6 months to a year phase on nursing or bottle feeding, or however, like those middle of the night feeds where you feel like you're alone in the world? And you're sitting in the nursery and you're looking around going, oh my God, there's no one else in the world that's awake right now. What did you do? How did you think? Tell me about that.
I definitely was on my phone, and like, I have the night shift option, the mode on my phone. So it's like the dim light, and maybe it also turns the warm color, right? So I didn't feel as guilty about exposing like the light to my kid when she's trying to like be chill, and myself too, right? I don't want that sensory overload, but yeah, I would just be on my phone, and like, maybe I knew some other mamas who were up at the same time because we had kids at the similar times, right? So it's just like, you're not alone. Or like I saw Amy was online 20 minutes ago. Oh my gosh, Amy, girl, what are you doing right now? Oh, just feeding my
Send
kid.
You some reels.
Yeah, exactly. And also like, I would just, that's just how I could also stay awake too, because we're so sleep deprived in those early days that it's just like, if I just sat there in a dark room, I would just zombie out. I remember at the very beginning, I tried so hard to do nursing Chloe in my bed because, the bassinet was right next to it. And so I just like kind of sat up in my bed, and then I had the hatch actually on the red feature because red light is better for processing. It doesn't wake you up as much. And so I was just like kind of like a zombie. I don't know if you've ever been like that, where it's almost like I'm awake, but I'm dreaming. And it was a little bit scary. So I didn't like that. So moving forward, I always picked her up, went to her nursery, which was just short down the hall, and just sat in the glider chair. and just was on my phone. And that kind of did the trick for me. And even moving forward, like Chloe battled reflux, so I had to freaking keep her upright for even longer after feeding. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, those nights, I mean, you know what? I don't miss them, but I do appreciate them, to be honest.
Yeah,
Yeah. What about
absolutely.
you?
Well, just kind of like, and I'm one of the reasons why I'm kind of asking is because again we're wanting another baby, and so kind of thinking ways to go back into that mindset and preparing ourselves. I think a tip for me was like always having a positive or uplifting show to binge. I remember the first 6 weeks, mostly during the daytimes, but like we didn't leave very much. We were just in this mindset, but I always found like a positive or uplifting show to consume. I wouldn't say middle of the nights. I would say like mostly again in the days or those sleep windows where you just like need a break. But like a Gilmore Girls, Friday Night Lights, New Girl was a funny one as well. Like anything like that is a really helpful tip to like let yourself relax. It's 6 weeks in your life or 8 weeks, depending, that you are just kind of a little bit more homebound than usual. Try to find some good shows to watch. And in the middle of the night for us, I just remember I had friends in Australia who were awake and just sending reels back and forth to them. Once in a while, I would try to put on a positive podcast in my ear, just one headphone. So I was still present with the child, but like, you know, not necessarily just so alone in my thoughts because that's a very isolating time. The 3 a.m. stretch is such a hard one. We were very much non-co-sleepers. Cooper's bassinet was in our room, but we would like wake him up, let the other partner sleep, and go into the nursery, sit in the glider, do that routine. And we always had the hatch on like a very light red color. I just remember, I can't stop picturing it in my head those first 6 weeks, like what that room looked like. But like unswaddle, quickly change his diaper, and then go feed him to sleep. And I think something that was harder for us as well is like I always would pump. So I'd feed Cooper, put him back to sleep, and then I would go sit on the lounge in the living room, and I would pump for the 15 minutes to give Chase a bottle in order for Chase to then do the next feed. So in some ways, I was up a little bit longer, but that meant I would have a little bit longer to sleep the next round, which would be really helpful. So then Chase would have a bottle ready to go for the next cycle. So that was also something that just worked for us. I don't know if it's for everyone. I was a little bit of an oversupplier, so I could pump a bottle for Cooper. So Chase had a warm bottle so then I could sleep. And that was a tip I learned from my lactation consultant of just like, I know you guys are tired, but this little hack can work. If you're able to stay up a little longer, go pump, put on a show, watch a couple TikToks or whatever it takes, pump a little bottle. That way you can sleep just a touch longer. And that book also talks about how you can pump up your supply in order to do that. So that is something that could help you guys if your partner is willing to take any of those midnight feeds or, those little late night feeds for you, or even that 6 a.m. feed if you wanted just a couple hours. That extra milk could be really helpful.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's crucial to take advantage of your partner, like helping and having a routine of that too. Because even like in the newborn phase, you guys had it down. We were kind of similar in the sense of like, okay, maybe I would feed Chloe when I was still breastfeeding, and then Ben would do the diaper change right after. I'd be like, babe, she's ready for you, babe. So like we still have these little short increments where we're awake. But like even moving forward for putting Chloe down for sleep, like well, she's a toddler. She's 3 years old, but Ben will handle bath time, and then he'll do lotion, and then like, but bath's not every night in this house, so just putting that out there. But like, if it's bath night, he's the bath guy, so like he's designated. She knows to expect that. He'll do lotion on her in her room and all that good stuff, and they'll hide in her bed. Somehow Ben fits in there with her and put the blanket up over them, and then they'll say, "Mama, ready?" And I'll say, "Ready or not, here I come." And I go find both of them, and then I'm the one who kind of like kisses her goodnight, and Ben pieces out. So like moving forward past all that, like finally getting our kids down for sleep for the night, I want to talk about like just touch on it, like our routine, because we matter too. And like, especially winding down with our partners, and like, like how important it is to have a routine for our kids' sleep is just as important for us, because that's sleep hygiene. And it's like sleep is so important for our overall health, because obviously all the hormones we're going through, especially in the early days. And then like, obviously moving forward, just like in general, to recover from the day of like stress and just getting beat up and like, all that good stuff. So I think it's like so crucial to remember that your sleep routine matters just as much as our kids. So it's just like establishing that, and hopefully being on the same page with your partner. Because like, if you guys can do a little teamwork after you guys close that door for your kid's room, then it's just like, yes, bing, bang, boom. Let's both put our feet up. Let's wind down for the night. And so what's that kind of look like for you guys?
Yeah. So, I think at this moment in our lives, I would say this is not a routine that I want to be in long term, but Chase is working for a company still in Arizona, bringing in some U.S. income. We've got some things kind of happening on the back burner that we're working on as a family unit. And so unfortunately, some of our evenings does look like Chase is on the couch working on his computer a little bit. But the thing is we are pretty big at checking in with each other. We eat dinner together. We don't do really technology from the time Chase gets home from work up until after Cooper goes down. And then we're both able to kind of jump on our phones or be on our computers or doing kind of whatever that looks like. So I do find that kind of unplugging time together is important. And unfortunately, with having a toddler have such distractions, those conversations do get interrupted. And I say unfortunately or whatever in a light term because I'm lucky to have him, of course. But I find that I do enjoy the time with Chase, just kind of being present, having those story chats. But so Cooper goes down for a sleep. We both sit on the couch and we're always physically touching. So my feet are on his legs or kind of like that, but he's working on something. I'm either on my phone or reading a book or kind of working on things on the back end on my end. And then we are always in bed by 9:30, most of the time about 9, but we've been doing like a nighttime tea. It's turning winter here. So I find that a cup of tea at the end of the night is great. I'm doing a tea with valerian in it, which is like a sleep enhancer. It's phenomenal. It's like
Cozy.
a sleepy time tea. And then we go to bed. So yeah, we both brush our teeth at the end of the night together. We both wash our face at the end of the night together. It's nice. And like the small things we are very, I would say 9 times out of 10, we both go to sleep at the same time. Sometimes Chase goes into brew quite early. And so he'll go into bed a bit earlier because he'll go to bed like on nights that he brews the next day. He'll go to bed right after Cooper goes to sleep. So about 8 o'clock. And my mind's going, I just tapped out for my 9 to 5 in some ways, right? So like as a stay-at-home mom, I'm just clocking off. If I go to bed right now, I'm literally not having a minute to myself. Yeah. But that mom guilt creeps in, and it's more just like partner guilt at that time. And I don't know if we talk about that often, and we could have an episode on it, but that feeling of guilt of like your partner works all day and then he's getting ready to go do the same thing again, but I just clocked off. So I just want an hour to myself. So whether I'm chucking on a new episode of Handmaid's Tale or sitting on TikTok for a little bit, that is a little way for me to unwind. And yes, it's screen focused. And I know there's 10 other things I could be doing, but I think it's okay to give yourself that moment to just unwind, because again, we've talked about it as a stay-at-home mom or a part-time stay-at-home mom. Your kid wakes up at 6:30 and goes to bed at 7:30 at night. That's over 12 hours a day that you're on call, essentially. Yep. And so going back to kind of like what we do for ourselves, I do enjoy, like, if Chase goes to bed first, he always leaves my toothbrush and toothpaste out, and I
Same
then
with
go.
Ben.
It's so cute. And then I also will set up the coffee for him in the morning. He doesn't know it, but I'll set up his he knows it now, of course, but I set up his coffee in the morning. And so when he gets up, he's kind of got that first part of the day, a little moment of, oh, she thought about me this morning kind of thing. So I think it's important to remember to do small things for yourselves and also your partners to set them up for success after a long day.
Yeah, I think that's what it all comes down to, is that teamwork and making sure you're on the same page and you're balancing each other out. Because it's if you still want to be up for a little bit and he has to go to bed super early, you're still able to do those little acts of service and show love in that way. So I love that. And obviously it's not every single day, because I'm the same way as you guys. It sounds very similar to how Ben and I kind of function in our sleep routine and winding down for the night. Because we'll wrap up Chloe's routine and then we'll get the dishes done. Unfortunately, we usually have a very late dinner and I hate it, but that's just the way life works sometimes. And then I get heartburn. So that's another thing of just okay, making sure you feel not super full before you go to bed. So that's something that we are working on. But good old Tums saved the day.
Why do you guys eat late?
It's just, I don't know. So Ben is kind of his general duty, his responsibility is tackling dinners. And that doesn't mean from start to finish of thinking of an idea, going grocery shopping and all the cooking and cleaning, but he kind of takes the reins on it usually. And he's a better cook than I am anyways. It doesn't mean I never cook, but so if he's in charge of the dinner, right? And then he gets home, I don't know what time he's getting home. And let's say he gets home late, or maybe he wants some wind down time too from his work. He wants to play with Chloe before he starts cooking. it just means it's not ready until, and then we're like getting her down for bed. And like you were saying, Cooper stalls, Chloe stalls. So it's just like this bedtime routine as toddlers take 1.5 years. So by the time she's done, dinner's ready. And then I'm like, okay, that's it. And then we watch our show. But yeah, very similar to you guys. Like we love going to bed at the same time, especially me. Like even if Ben wants to go to bed slightly early, maybe we won't watch an episode after dinner. Maybe we're pretty wiped out. I'll usually be like, oh, fine, I'll go to bed too. Because I hate going to bed separately. I don't know what it is. It's not necessarily like codependent. I just feel like it's just a comfort thing. And I like ending the day together because we don't get to start the day together. He wakes up way earlier than I do. I never get to see him in the mornings except for on the weekends. So I think that's really sweet. And like, I love it when we get to brush our teeth together, even though we share one sink, we don't have a Jack and Jill. So like, it is kind of annoying, but I'm like, you know what? I wouldn't have it any other way. And, yeah, so I think, we make it work and like everyone has their own routine and like balance of everything. And, you end as a team, like with you and your partner at the end of the day. So I think that's really special. And yeah, so, and something cute that we do. Oh my gosh, you're going to think it's so funny, but I learned this from another girlfriend when we were camping because like she called it, I stole this phrase from her, safety pee. So like we'll do a little pee in our potty before bed, and then we'll like brush our teeth, maybe 5 minutes goes by, and then I hop back on for a safety pee because it's just like there's always a little something in there. So then it just gives me peace of mind before going to bed because then I'm like, okay, I'm fully empty and I don't have to worry about waking up in the middle of the night, which I still do, which is really annoying. But like, yeah, I thought that was cute. So definitely shout out to the safety pee because that saves me a lot. And then I just lay there in bed thinking like, oh, do I have to get back up again for pee? Or yeah, that's where we're at.
Well, I think we've kind of tackled this one from tip to top. If we've missed anything, you guys should definitely link them in the show notes or comment on them actually instead of show notes. That's my job. You guys should probably comment on our episode or on, we drop a reel every week kind of giving some highlights of the episode. So if you guys didn't know that, check us out on Instagram, Mommy Eats World Pod. And each week we kind of do a little highlight reel and some posts about what's been going on in our lives. And it's kind of a nice way for you to see what next week's episodes are about. And it's a good way for you to share. Like if we resonated with you on something this week and you want to share it to a friend, take that reel, shoot it off to a friend of yours and, keep sharing the love with us,
Yes. Perfect. Well, we can't wait to see you guys next week and we'll catch you later.
All right, guys. Catch you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us on this week's episode of Mom Meets World. If you enjoyed listening, please give us a like, subscribe, and find us on Instagram at Mom Meets World Pod.
Because sometimes you just need another mom to remind you that you're getting it right more than you're getting it wrong. See you next time.